What is up, family? It's your boy D coming right back at you with another one. Right now, we're back in the lab, and a box build is on the menu. Alright, so what is this all about? As you guys know, I recently purchased the Peerless STW350, and this is going to be the box build for it. This is kind of like a close-up view of it. As you can see on the inside, we do have some internal bracing. I want you guys to pay attention to the bracing right here, the ones on the inside that has these holes in it. This is actually the bracing that is supposed to be for the rear mounts on the rear of the subwoofer. In my build, I'm going to show you guys later on that I did achieve this, but there was a twist to it. In addition to this inner ring right here for rear mounting or rear bracing or rear mounting for the subwoofer, I have an additional piece right here for bracing for the center of the box itself. So this is pretty much what she's going to be looking like. This is what she's going to be housed in. And these are the cutout parameters that I used to construct the box itself. This box was actually cut from, or these pieces was actually cut from one piece of 8x4 MDF wood. But enough of that. Before we can even get to that point, there's a few things that we're going to have to point out about this build. Of course, you're going to need your overall outside diameter. This is what we're looking at right here. And over here on this side of the screen, you're actually going to have many parameters that you're going to have to take into account whenever building a subwoofer enclosure. Now, Peerless have gone and had all these made available to us. Most subwoofer manufacturers do give you some type of parameters and some type of cut sheet and specifications for their drivers. Peerless was one of those who went the extra mile and actually gave you some pretty good stuff as far as documentation. Right now, we're over here at Parts Express, and as you guys can see, when you go here and look at this subwoofer, before you even purchase it, they have the documentation available for you right here. All manuals and resources. These are clickable and downloadable. What I would suggest for you guys to do is open them in a new tab and get kind of familiar with them. Right here is the warranty. Of course, we won't be needing that unless you actually purchase it. Then you have the driver specification sheet. This is very, very important because it does have some mechanical drawing right here, and it does give you some specs down here. A few TS parameters. You got your frequency response. This is pretty good as far as if you are looking just for an overview or a summary of what the driver is all about. But it is this sheet right here that I pretty much use myself. This is going to be the technical overview. This is the one I spent the most time with, was this sheet right here, because it gave more than just a summarized view or introduction of the driver. It gives a more specified overview, not an underview or a summary. It gives an overview of the driver itself. And as you guys can see, all this stuff we will take into account in another video when I actually go in and tune the enclosure. But since right now all I'm doing is a sealed enclosure, it's kind of easy because all I want to do right now is kind of stick to this specification that the manufacturer had for it. Roughly 2 cubic feet is what they are recommending for a sealed enclosure, and sealed enclosures are very, very easy to do. All you have to do is make sure that the box is tightly sealed and tightly sealed with no air leakage, and you're pretty much good to go. It's the easiest type of enclosure to build. But when you're talking ported and you're talking band pass and things of that nature, then things can get a little bit more complicated. But for right now, we're going with sealed, and we're going to be using information off of this sheet right here in order to do that enclosure. So this is what I want you guys to focus on the most. And don't be, for some of you guys who are not used to using millimeters and things of that nature in your measurements, don't be intimidated by that. Google, there are many calculators that you can Google. I mean, Google have one right here in the forefront. All you have to do is millimeter to inch. Google this and this little calculator pop up, and it's very convenient. And this is what we're going to be using to kind of get some of those specifications that we want over here in SketchUp. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to be looking at some of the parameters over here that are in millimeters, and we're going to be converting them to inches. And if you guys don't know how to do that in SketchUp, I will be showing you guys exactly how to make note of all of this. So as of right now, this SketchUp environment here is fine, but I want to show you guys how I personally build a box from scratch in SketchUp, meaning how did I go from what you guys seen earlier to this right here. So how do you go from a spec sheet to actually having something like this up to spec, right? How do you go from that to this right here and actually getting this design on the floor right here? You're getting all your cutouts right here, precise measurements. Well, in order to show you guys how I do that, I'm going to have to start anew. So we're going to go over here to the file menu and we're going to click new. And I'm not going to save this because I didn't make any changes worth saving. And here you are. This is what a built from scratch, brand new SketchUp environment looks like. And I did choose the SketchUp environment that is based upon inches and foot. You can build an environment here in SketchUp that's based upon millimeters if you wanted to. But being that, you know, I am used to inches, all my conversions, all of my my tools that I use in my shop is in inches, so that's what we're going to be using today. So my lovely assistant here, she's not actually needed for what we're trying to do right now, so she has to go. Just know that anytime you start in SketchUp, you're going to start at the place of origin. That's what these different axes represent. Well, actually not the different axes. These different axes actually represent those axes. But right now, what we're going to be focusing on is this center piece where they all connect or where they all intersect. That's going to be your place of origin. And for right now, what we want to do is we want to focus on a piece of one of those diagrams that I showed you guys earlier. If we was to go back to Parts Express over here and look at one of these cutouts, excuse me, the one that I'm looking for specifically is the one that shows the outer parameter. We need to find out exactly what this is right here. The outer diameter right here, or the circumference of the subwoofer itself, is going to be very important to the next step that we have to take in designing our enclosure. So as you guys can see, this is 381 millimeters. We're going to go to our converter here, and we're going to put in 381 millimeters. And as you guys can see, that's 15 inches. And I'm going to show you guys right now why that's very important. If you were to go back here, of all these drawings right here, the one that I am most interested in right now is the one in the center. This one right here in the center is what I am focused upon, because not only does it give me the outer diameter, it also gives me these other specs right here to play around with, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making a copy of this. And if you guys don't know how to do that, Windows have a little tool called a Snippet Tool. Your Snippet Tool is just hit new, and by default it allows you to do this, and you can actually save this, right? Save this right here, and you can actually build upon this image right here with these little parameters already applied. I've already taken the liberty to do that, so I'm not going to save it again. Right now we're going to be going back over to SketchUp, and we're going to go to the file menu, and we're going to hit import. So what are we importing? We're going to import that exact image right here that we talked about earlier. Remember, I told you I had already saved it. So we're going to be importing this little image right here, and we're going to actually use it as an image, not as a texture. A texture and an image is different. An image is just that, it's an image. A texture is something that you apply to objects that you create within SketchUp. Because when you first create any object within SketchUp, it's just a plain white object, regardless if it's a circle, a square, a sphere, a cube, or whatever. It's going to have a plain white finish to it. And if you want to add texture like wood or grass or anything, stone, you would have to add a texture to it in that nature, and it will cover that entire object. In this instance, we don't want to use a texture. We want to import this as an image, and I'm going to show you guys why in just a second. So we're gonna select this guy right here, and we're gonna select open. Now what we're gonna be doing right now, you don't have to do anything. You move your mouse around, and this is attached to your mouse. What you want to do is go here, hover next to origin, and SketchUp have a snap feature or a snap function that automatically snaps when you get close to certain edges, angles, centers, things of that nature. You're going to find all that stuff out once you start to use SketchUp more consistently. But for right now, it's snapping itself to the green axis, to the red axis. You see the mouse is going slightly past it, and it's still connected to it. That's the snap feature. We're going to snap it to origin. Once you click, it gives you that ability to drag it wherever you want it. You see that? You can go in this environment, that environment, whatever axis, along whatever axis you want. This is green and red. This is green and red. I guess they will all be green and red. Anything but blue. You can't do the blue because the blue, of course, is your north-south pole. But anyway, what we're going to be doing, or I shouldn't say north-south pole, it's actually your y-axis. And the green and red would constitute for an x-axis in this case. I don't know if this is a z-axis or not. My geometry isn't that perfect. But anyway, we're going to snap this to the red and green axis on this side of the environment. And we're just going to click it again. And now it's there. All right, so why did I say that was so important, right? Okay, so if we was to use our tape measure right now, which all you have to do is a shortcut, you can either come over here, and for most people, when you first start your SketchUp environment, this menu over here may be running along the top edge of your SketchUp environment. I snap mine to the left because that's what I'm accustomed to. But if you want to measure and see what the actual size of this is, what you're going to do is you're going to get your tape measure, right? Start from one. It doesn't matter what edge you go from. Click and drag. You see this? Snap it here, and it tells you that's 1 foot 3 7/8 inches. Okay, so that's roughly 15 inches. 15 7/8 inches is what you got. 15 7/8 of an inch. All right, so that's way too big. That's not what we're looking for. We know that we pulled this drawing directly from the manufacturer. We know that these parameters, as they seem fit, are correct. We do know that this is up to scale. In this environment right now, it is not up to scale, but the way that it was constructed on this piece of paper here, it is up to scale. So what we need to do, and to release this, just hit the escape button and it lets it go. So what we need to do right now is to remeasure this and to reshape our environment to these specs right here, to what's on the paper. Now we do know that this outer diameter, or the circumference of the driver itself, is 15 inches. Okay, we know that. So what we're going to be doing here, we're going to get as close to this edge as we can, which is about here. Click, get a handle on it, to here. You see how it snaps to the green automatically? I love the snap features in SketchUp. It's almost like you can't go wrong. There's no way you can't do a straight line. But anyway, go to the other edge here, and as you guys can see, that thing says 11 inches, 11 3/16 of an inch. That's too small. This needs to be 15. You're going to click, right, as if you've just measured that. As you guys can see down here in the lower right-hand corner down here, it gives you that measurement right here. Now, this box right here is actually waiting for your input. Everything right now is in inches, so all you have to do is specify to it exactly what size that you want that last measurement you took to be. It is waiting for your input. So all you have to do is type 15. You guys see it's there. You don't have to click in that box or any of that. Just type 15. Don't do anything. Once you measure and it shows you what it is, you tell it what you want it to be and you hit enter. This little dialog box is going to pop up right here and it's going to ask you a question. Do you want to resize the model? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to tell you why I want to say yes. I want to say yes because I want the whole model to be based upon the measurements of this diagram that I just pulled from the manufacturer. The manufacturer built this here to spec, as we mentioned before, and that's what we're going to build our box around, is that right there. So we're going to hit yes, and it's going to resize. Now, this is exactly from here to here should be about 15 inches. And that's what you got, 15 inches. All right, so why is this very, very important? Okay, we know that we're looking for a 2 cubic foot enclosure. We know that because that's what the manufacturer recommended to us, and that's what we want to shoot for. In most cases, that is what you guys would want to shoot for. But in my case, okay, it gets a little bit different because I want mine's, the 2 cubic feet gives you an F3 of 43 hertz. Okay, an F3 of 43 hertz. I want mine to be tuned a little bit lower than that. So instead of a 2 cubic foot enclosure, I want to get this thing as big as I can. Not as big as I shouldn't say as big as I can, right? I want to give it at least 3.5 cubic feet. And I'm going to tell you guys why. I ultimately want it to be around 3 cubic foot, but I'm going to say 3.5 cubic feet to constitute for the displacement that this massive motor has, and also bracing that is going to be on the inside of it. So if I make this thing 3.5 cubic feet, that will constitute for the 0.3 cubic feet that this thing already takes up in displacement itself, and the 0.2 cubic feet of bracing that I'm going to be adding to it later. So that'll give me roughly a 3 cubic foot driver with a frequency response, or an F3, of around 33 hertz. Okay, that's what I'm looking for right here. So what I'm going to be doing right now is plotting out exactly how I want to design my box. I know for a fact that I want my box to be, when you look in the trunk, right? When I look in the trunk, I want to see nothing but cone. Okay, I don't want 3 inches of wood around my driver. I want to see cone. That's what I want to see when I look into my trunk. Why do I want to see cone? Because this thing is already 15 inches. And if you guys, for all the guys who's been following the channel, you guys already know I'm trying to save space. So I don't want this thing to be too big. I want it to be more long than what it is big. And in my mind, I already know what exactly I'm going to be making, how long I'm going to be making it. It's going to be 2 feet long, and it's going to be 16 inches in diameter. I'm sorry, not diameter. It's going to be 16 inches in width and height, and it's going to be 24 inches long. I already know that. I've done the measurements, and that's what I'm going to be going for. So enough of me yapping. Let's get to it. This thing is also going to be double baffled. Okay, it's going to be double baffled, and it's also going to be rear mounted right here. So it has to be another rear mount brace on the inside of the box. So we have to do all of that stuff. But enough of me yapping right now. That's my mental plan. Now to move on with the actual measurements. Okay, so right now what we have here is depth. We're going to have to deal with, let's get these things converted. Okay, that'll be the next step, is to get these things converted. let's get this converter back up. We're going to go here to tools, and we're going to go to text. This is what you want. So right here you got 232.9 millimeters. We need to find out what that is. 232.9. It's going to be roughly 9/16. 9.17 is what that's going to be. I'm going to copy this, and we're going to add some text here and just hit paste. And that's it. And I'm just going to make life a lot easier, and we're going to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to do that. And next is to convert this right here. And like I said, there is a millimeter. For all you guys who do things in millimeters, there is a millimeter environment that you can choose when you first start up SketchUp. You can choose that. And just to show you guys that, let me just open up a new SketchUp. I know it's different, you know, just talking about it and actually doing it. So let me show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. And when you first open it up, if you go to template, you see this? I'm doing feet and inches, but you can do meters. You can do an architectural design. I'm just going to scroll and let you guys see it. And there it is, millimeters. You can do this as well. You see that? So you can do a whole lot with SketchUp. It's pretty cool. But, oh, it's going to make me, like, choose that first. That's the only thing I hate about. No. Kill it. And, okay, so we're back here. So right now we got 115. We need to convert 115. As you guys can see, that's 4.5 inches. So we're going to come here. Okay, we're going to erase that. That's 4.5 inches. All right, cool. I should have write inches in there, but you guys know what that is, I guess. All right, so this one here is 228. So we're going to do 228. And that'll give you this 8.99. That's roughly 9 inches. So I'm just going to say 9 inches for this because that has to go through the hole anyway if you put a hole there. So this is going to be actually 9 inches. And then you have 350. What is that? 13.78. It will not let me. It will. It selects that for you. I hate that, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, that's going to be 13.78 of an inch. All right, so that's pretty much what that looks like. And that's how you use your converter, in case you guys were wondering how you keep track of all that stuff. In most cases, you won't see millimeters, you'll see inches, but we have inches here, so that's what we're dealing with. All right, so where do we go from here? We have the driver. We know that we don't want to make this thing massive, right? So what we're going to do, in my case, I know I'm going to be using 3/4 inch MDF is what I'm going to be using, right? So what I'm going to be doing is constructing my base from this right here, okay? So you can do, I'm not going to do the base yet. What I'm going to be doing is the face of it, and I'm going to show you how I do that. Now, you guys can pick this. Okay, this is rectangle, but I'm so used to it, I just use the shortcuts. Select R. If you select R, it turns into the little rectangle symbol, as you guys can see here. I think if you hover over it, it may tell you. And they do more than that. They do circles and polygons as well. R and C are the shortcuts, okay? So what we're going to be doing is, this is 15 inches, so we want to go, we're going to have the whole face being about 16 inches, okay? So we're going to go half a inch out. I mean, on the outer side of it. So this is going to be 16 inches on an overall, okay? We want it to be 3/4 of an inch wide, because that's the MDF we're using, and 16 inches long, okay? So there we go. Now, this is not perfect. As you guys can see down here, this says 16 and 5/8 inch. We don't want that. And it says 5/8 of an inch wide. This is your length and width in this instance. Okay, in this case, this is your length and width. Depending on what axis you choose in the beginning, this can change. Okay, but for right now, it says 16 and 5/8. We don't want that. What we want And like I said, this thing is ready. Every time you make a measurement or create a shape, this thing is waiting for your input. We want 16 inches, right? Separated with a comma. And we're going to say, you can do 0.75 of an inch, or you can do 3/4. In this case, I'm going to do 0.75 of an inch to show you guys that it does work, okay? You can use your move tool, shortcut M. If you see this here got highlighted, it's crosshairs, and you can move this a little bit closer. You understand what I'm saying? A little bit closer. And as you guys can see, there's more room on this side of the driver than it is on this side of the driver. So what we're going to be doing by that, about that, is we're going to be adjusting this some. So how do you get that perfect 1/2 inch on either side? I cheat a little bit. I use the line tool, which is the pencil. Of course, shortcut L, right? All right, I use the line tool, and what I do, I come here. That's not on the edge. I come here on the edge, and I go this, and I just say 0.5, which is 1/2 inch. Oh, that's the wrong way, dude. Let's try that again. I come here. It doesn't matter how long you make it. If you say 0.5, it's going to make it 0.5 for you. And I'm going to give you an example of that down here. I can make a line this long. If I tell it 0.5, guess what? It's going to make it 0.5. All you have to do, hit escape if it doesn't want to let go. That's very annoying when you first learn SketchUp. Hit escape, get your move tool, and just, oh crap. Ooh, I forgot a very, very important piece of this. Whenever you're making plain shapes like this, like we made, you need to group this shape, okay? Double click it. It select that whole piece. It did not select the picture. It selected this whole piece. And what you want to do is right click and say make group. And what it's going to do is going to group all of these individual pieces. The way what you have to know about SketchUp, if we just we're going to get another rectangle going. We're just going to make a small piece. The way that SketchUp work is that it does not look at this shape as being one shape until you tell it to look at it as being one shape. Right now, the way SketchUp see this right here is that it has a center, it has a fill. Okay, it is filled here, which you can add textures, colors, whatever, and it has 4 individual edges. And that's how it would look at this shape right here. It's not really even an entity upon itself. It is consisted of 5 different entities. You have the center, which is the fill, and 4 individual edges. You can manipulate these edges. If you take this corner here and pull it, it will pull this thing in all type of directions, which in some cases is really good if you're trying to get a unique shape. But in this case, what we're trying to get is crisp, sharp edges. Okay, we're working with wood here. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of that. We already have grouped this guy, and once you group it, guess what it do? Or what it does? It moves as one piece. That's what you want, and it's actually snapping back to that place. That is so amazing. And that's just a picture, but it's snapping to the place where you originally made it from. That is so amazing. But anyway, enough of me doing that. What you want to do here is you want to line it up here. And as you guys can see, it automatically lined up here for you as well. So now it's perfectly lined like you would want it, okay? Perfectly lined up for you. All right, so what do we do next? Right now, that is just a 2D shape, right? It has no height. It has no anything. It's just a 2D flat shape. What you want to do is give that, you want this to be a 3-dimensional shape. So what you want to do is use your push and pull tool, which is this little arrow with a box. You grab, okay, so before you do this, you know what? I'm going to ungroup this for you guys. I'm going to explode it. This is how you ungroup in SketchUp. As you guys can see, it goes back to being 4 individual corners and a fill. So what you want to do, because I got ahead of myself, it's been so long since I had to explain this to someone, I'm sorry. But what you want to do is use your push and pull tool before you even group, right? And just pull this up. Now it's starting to look more like what you would be working with in a shop, okay? That's kind of what you would be working with in a shop, right? So I'm going to undo and show you guys that one more time. You can pull this up. And how high did we say we wanted this? We wanted it 16 by 16 and 24 inches long. So, of course, we're going to type in 16. That's how tall it would be. You understand? Now the box is looking more like a box. And to make sure that our measurements are correct, we click T, the shortcut for tape, and we measure it. 16 inches. 16 inches, 3/4 of an inch. Just like the piece of wood you would cut. All right, moving on. Hit escape to release that. Now, this is another cool feature right here. Oh, yeah. Don't forget to group this. All right. If you hit the space bar, it gives you back your select tool. As you guys can see, this is not one group. These are still individual groups. Even more individual groups now, because the edge is also individual. So what you want to do is double click this again. We'll actually triple click this. 1, 2, 3. It selects the whole thing. Remember the first time a double click would do because it was 2-dimensional. But now that it's 3-dimensional, you need 3 clicks. And what you want to do again, right click, make group. And there you go. You have the group. All right. So another thing, we know that we're going to have the front and the back is going to be the exact same, right? But I'm not going to jump ahead. I'm not going to jump ahead of myself. I was about to jump ahead of myself. I'm sorry. All right, so what do you want to do from here? What you want to do from here is you actually want to find your center, but we're going to get to that later. I'm not going to jump too far ahead. Let me get rid of that. All right, so what you want to do now is make your sides, right? You can make your sides. And don't forget this is going to be double baffle. You know what? Let's do the baffle first. That'll be fun. Let's do the baffle first. As we can see, we know that the outer diameter of the woofer is going to be 15 inches. The inner diameter is what we want to talk about now. The inner diameter is actually this number right here. 3.78 is the 3.78 inches is going to be our inner diameter. This is where we're actually going to mount the woofer into that hole, and it's going to, you're going to be able to drill your holes from there. And that's what we're going to be doing next, the inner baffle. Outer baffle, 15 inches. Inner baffle, 13.78 inches. So how do you do that? What you want to do now, since this thing is a group, it is one solid piece. You want to double click. Now you get on the inside. You understand? You open that group up, which is illustrated by the dotted lines here. It lets you know now you're on the inside of this group and you can manipulate the individual pieces of it or components of it. You want to manipulate the face of it. And you're going to use, what you're going to use now is what you want to do now is find the center of this piece. Why do you want to find the center of this piece? Because we need to find a center in order to cut a perfect circle. Keep in mind that what we're trying to do now is we're trying to illustrate what it would be like to use a Jasper jig. Okay, the perfect circle cutting jig that everyone uses. That's what we're kind of trying to constitute now. And the best way to do that is to use the line tool, shortcut L, and go from corner to corner. This is how you would do it in the shop. And this is how we're going to do it in the environment. Boom, just like that. And this would be your center. So what would you do with this center? You would take your circle. Remember, that's shortcut C for circle. And what you want to do is you want to take half, because we're going to use the radius. The circle is measured in radius in order to get a full diameter. You have to type in down here the radius of the circle, and it will do the diameter for you, okay? So we know that the diameter of it is 13.78 inches. We need to pull up a calculator. 13.78 6.78 and divide that by 2. That'll give you the radius of it. 6.89 is what we're looking for. So we come here and we drag this. Doesn't matter how big you make it at first. Long as you immediately after type in 6.89 and hit enter. That's your 13 point whatever 78 inches of a circle. And to get rid of these lines right here, you want to erase those lines. So use shortcut E, erase. You can just hold it down and swipe, or you can just click them individually. Click them individually. Okay, that's how you would do that. Now we have the making of a circle. So how do we get an actual circle into here? What you want to do is use your push tool. Your push tool is amazing. It can do a lot of stuff. And you guys can already use your imagination. Like this would be what you will use for like ports and things of that nature, right? But for right now, we want this hole. We want a hole here. We don't want to create a tunnel or a port. We want a hole here. So how would you make a hole? Well, just push this to the outer parameter. You see that? You see how it looks different now once I do that? See how different it looks? Because you constrained it upon itself. And it disappears once you let it go. It disappears. So that's how you get a hole in SketchUp. All right, so we're still on the internals of this group. We're finished with this group for right now. So what we're going to do for right now is we're going to close this group, okay? We don't need it anymore. So let's close this group by clicking the space bar. One time. Oh, yeah, escape. I'm sorry. Because you want to escape the group. So anyway, yeah. So, you know what I forgot? I actually forgot to do the outer baffle. This is the inner baffle. This is what the speaker is actually going to rest on. But our outer baffle has to be 15 inches, which we already know. That's pretty easy math. 15, half of 15 is 7.5. So what we're going to be doing is creating another one of these guys, and we're going to make the you know what? We can bag up a bit. Let's cheat a little bit, right? Let's cheat. Hit Control Z and that'll bag you up. Or you can go up here to the edit menu and hit undo. But we're not going to be doing all that. We're just going to hit Control Z. And what we want is this again. I'm going to show you guys another pretty cool tip of SketchUp. So we escape that, right? So what we want to do now that we have this, why have to do the work twice, right? We're smart. We don't work hard. We work smart. So this is the thing. Use your move tool. That's shortcut M. Your move tool and push this guy backwards, right? Drag him along the red axis. You're still holding down your mouse. You can put him anywhere. You're still holding down your mouse. While still holding down your mouse, click the Control key and it makes a copy for you. You can let it go. Now you have two of them. Now you can come here, right? Let's go back into this group. Now you can come here, find your center with the center. Do this, 7.5. That's half of 15. Gives you a 15-inch diameter, right? Use your erase tool again. Use your erase tool again. Right? We've done this before. I can speed through this piece. And boom, escape that. Let's escape this guy again. Or you can just click outside of it and it'll do the same thing. And let's do this guy, right? We know what we're going for here. And what was that measurement again? 6.89. All right, so we're going for 6.89. Boom. There we go. And we're going to use this again. This again. We're doing pretty much the same stuff that we've already done. And push tool. All right. So let's space bar to get your select tool back. Click away. And there you go. All right. So we already know that we're going to have to move this up some because that's not where it goes. It's not where it's actually going to go right here in front of this line. It's going to go right here in front of this line. So we're going to grab it here, place it here. Then we're going to grab our other ones here. I'm sorry, grab the front of it and push it up to the back of it like that. And that's how it would look in a real world application. You see that? Real world application. The same here. Trust me, this is how much of your surround is going to be, because this is up to spec. Remember, that drawing here is up to spec. And this is exactly how much of the surround that is going to be visible and protruding when you do your enclosure, okay? Keep that in mind. So if you don't want this, if you want your surround to be flush mount, looks to me like you're going to have to add another piece of MDF. I don't mind my surround not being flush mount, so I'm not going to even worry about it at this point. Okay, we're going to continue onward. Now we do know that we're going to be using another piece of 3/4 inch MDF, so might as well get that going. Use the rectangular tool again. Come down here. And it is 16 inches, but it's not, it's got 1 inch. That's too much. So what you do, you come down here and you just, the 16 is fine. Anything after this comma is not fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be just clicking a comma, right? I'm sorry, I hit too many at one time. Click the comma. We want to leave the first part alone. Anything after the comma is wrong. So in this case, we're going to put 3/4. Last time I put 0.75. I'm going to show you guys that fractions actually work as well. And there we go. It corrected itself. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be pulling this to 24 inches, right? Don't matter if you don't get it right here. We're looking at this. You see that? We're going to be pulling, and we're going to correct that too. 24. Enter. You guys kind of see where I'm going with this. And remember, you want to group this. 3 clicks, make group. We're going to move it over here. We're going to copy it over here. Remember how to copy? Grab, drag, hold your key down, hit control, and there's your second wall right there. And you just snap it to the outer edge right here so it's a perfect fit, right? Perfect fit. That's what you want. And you already know that this back piece is going to be what? 16 inches in diameter. I keep saying diameter. It's going to be 16 by 16 by 16. An easy way to do that. And also to keep in mind that it's going to be on the outer edges of it, right? So to keep in mind of that, both of these are grouped, so we're good for that. And I'm going to show you what'll happen if you don't group pieces and try to put them together. They'll actually stick together as one, and it'll be hell trying to move the pieces individually. I'm not going to show you that. You guys get the gist of it. So let's make another rectangle from here to here. You see that? And what we're going to be doing is pulling this out. And this needs to be pulled out 0.75. And we're going to group 1, 2, 3, make group. And now we can actually take this guy and move him however we want to move him as well. All right. So there you go, guys. All you got to do now is add a top and bottom, and you got an enclosure. It's just that simple. And the same thing goes when you're trying to do the brace pieces as well. So when you're doing the brace pieces, so how would you do that? We already know that this right here is going to have to mount to the rear of this. So how do we go about finding the mounting points to this? We know that the internals bracing of this is going to have to be 14.5 inches because we got to take 1.5 inches off to constitute for the widths of the sides, which are 3/4 inch over here, 3/4 inch over here. To fit in the middle, you have to deduct that from 16, so that'll give you 14.5 on the inside. I can prove that to you guys right here. Okay, we want that to be 0.75. Ah, I did it wrong. Let's go back. Where are you? Oh. So we don't want that. Let's delete that. Get a little erase tool. And there we go. Oh, way too much. Way too much, D. All right, a little line was still there. So what we want to do is we want to do rectangle again. We want to come down because this thing actually mounts to these brackets right here at the back. So we're going to take from about right here. And as you guys can see down at the bottom, we want 3/4 inch, and we're going to bring it all the way across. And we know that that second number needs to be 14.5 inches, and it'll fill itself. let's use that push tool again, and we're gonna flush it with this. All you gotta do is you can try to drag it, or you can type the numbers in, but another shortcut is just find an edge. It's gonna be flush with this edge, and it's not gonna go any further than this if you select that edge. So now you gotta group this as well. 3 clicks, make group, and now you got your baffle in which that thing would connect to. And we know in order to get through that hole, this thing needs to have a 9-inch hole right here. So we're gonna go through the same steps that we went through before, and we're going to create a 9-inch hole, find our center. This stuff is so easy, guys. Once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. And we know half of 9 is 4.5, right? Wow, that was a perfect 9. It didn't even have to readjust itself. That's awesome. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna push this out, use the push tool, find that outer edge right there, and there it is. There it is. So what we're gonna be doing from here is we actually have to manipulate this piece a little bit more, okay? So I'm gonna bring it out of here. I mean, I could leave it in here, but for display purposes, I'm gonna bring this out. Anytime you get the move tool and it doesn't wanna go like in the direction you want it to go, like right now I want it to go straight up in the air along the blue axis. Some of you guys may not know the snap feature like I know it. I can find that snap and go straight up. Some of you guys may not know how to do that. So, excuse me. So whatever axis that you want it to go, just use your arrow keys on your keyboard and point in that direction. At this angle that I'm looking at this model, the blue is pointing straight up in the air, which is pretty much always is. So you hit the up arrow. Did you see that? Hit the up arrow, and what is it going to do? It's going to go. It doesn't matter where your mouse goes now. It can only go up and down. It's going to ride that blue rail, which is what we wanted to do. The next thing I want to familiarize you guys with is the Q axis, right? This thing right here. I shouldn't say Q axis. That's kind of misleading. It's not a Q axis. Actually, what it is, the shortcut to use this, if you guys want to find it over here, I think they call it a protractor. I think that's what that is. Where is it? I don't know where it is right now. Just know if you hit Q, boom, you get this thing here. Okay? Find the midpoint and you can flip it. And it'll snap as well along the red as of now. So why do we do this? Okay, if you stick the driver directly in the center of this thing, that means it's going to have a hard time breathing on the inside. I mean, yeah, it's sealed. It's not actually breathing, right? But you don't want to seal it off from the remainder of the enclosure. So what you want to do is you want to create some gaps in the corners of this or somewhere within here to constitute airflow within the chamber. So what I'm going to do is, again, ungroup this or enter the group, and I'm going to use my circle. No, not the circle. I'm sorry. Use the arc. Shortcut A, and this is the tool up here. It has more than one arc. I'm going to use a 2-point arc. My 2-point arc is going to come from here to here. And I'm just going to go about right there. Do the same thing over here. About from here to here. Go about there. Here to here. There. In the real world application, I'm going to tell you what I did, guys. And you see when it turns purple or pink, it lets you know that you're in the same spot over here as you are over there. That's a perfect arc. You see that? You see how that line goes in the middle? It kind of helps you out in that regard. But anyway, that's being measured as well down here, in case you guys are wondering. Now, I didn't do all of them perfectly because I'm finna tell you what I did in a real world application. In a real world application, what I actually did was I took a 6-inch diameter port that I had, and I actually just used 3 inches of it to create my what's your name. So I'm gonna bag this up. It's no need to me talking about it and I'm not actually doing it, right? So let's go about from here to here. Let me get it to snap here, and we're gonna go out. Well, I guess I was being honest with you guys. So this is not perfect, but just know that if you get like any circular object, you can actually do the same thing that I'm doing now. I use a 6-inch port and made 3-inch, and just use half of it to make my my cutouts here. We're gonna use the push tool once more. Use the push tool. Use the push tool. Use the push tool. Yay, push tool. All right, so yeah, you can make them bigger than that. I actually did make them bigger than that in my real world application, but for right now, this is going to have to do. You guys kind of get the gist of it. All right, boom, it's on the blue axis. All right, so now we can drop this puppet back in. We need the front of it, actually. We're going to get the use the move tool. Woo, not that. Hit escape if you grab something that you wasn't intending to. Hit the escape key. And what we want to do is go straight down with you. So we're going to hit the down arrow. And that'll guide it back to where you want it at. And as you guys can see, it kind of lost its way a bit. So we're going to be grabbing it and pulling it forward. Because that is exactly where it would mount on the in the real world application. It will mount right there. So your driver would go through here, right? And it will go into this. And I know some people are going to be tripping like, oh, your arcs ain't big enough in the corners. It's bigger than that on the first demo piece you showed us. Yeah, it was. You know, I'm sorry if it ain't perfect to you guys, but this is what we're dealing with. All right, it's the same thing. You just want to constitute airflow. All right, so boom. What I did was I found the midway piece of this enclosure. Well, really the midway piece in between this point and that point, the center of it is going to need some bracing as well. So you can tape this from here, right the red axis, to here is roughly, 19 inches. So what you want to do is use a line tool. Half of 19 is going to be what? Half of 19 is about 10. It's like 9.5 or something like that. Yeah, 9.5. So you're gonna do this, and you're gonna type in 9.5, and there you go. You need to construct something right here. So you would use another. You can actually use this if you want to. Make another one of these, since it worked just fine down here. Why not make it down here as well, right? So let's move this down to here. Like this, hit control, and there you go. Now it's double braced. Plenty of bracing for this box, and that's how I created my box in SketchUp. So you can go from here, and if you guys are wondering exactly how I constructed like the pieces and let you know how you get the individual cutouts, that is going to be coming up in the next video. I'm going to show you guys how to construct your dimensions, how to do all your single pieces, how to actually, if you want to make this look pretty, how to give it like textures and things of that nature, make this look like real wood. But just know that as of right now, this enclosure, if you were to cut these pieces, would fit this driver perfectly. How do I know that? Because I've been doing it for years. All right, that's it for right now. Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. For all of the new guys, click the notification bell. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up, guys. That really helped the channel out a whole lot. And until next time, it's your boy D, and I'm out.